So can you really grow an entire vegetable garden with nothing but some seeds, dirt, and a spare room? Here at Whitetail Acres Farm, we've been doing it for years, and today we're going to show you exactly how we do it from start to finish. If you're growing a vegetable garden in most of the United States here, you simply don't have enough warm weather during the growing season to be able to direct sow all of those seeds directly in the ground in your garden and then be able to get a nice full harvest. The best way to do it is what we're going to be doing here today, and that is starting your seeds indoors. By starting your seeds indoors, you're able to get ahead of the growing time for those plants, so that way you already have a head start when you go to put those plants outdoors and when the warm weather kicks in, and you'll be able to have a really full harvest, and even more so than you would if you were to just direct sow those seeds. So you'll first want to start by finding out what zone you're in, and that's your growing zone. So here at Whitetail Acres Farm in southeastern Pennsylvania, we're in zone 6B. Now with that, I should be able to start planting outdoors safely like around the end of April, beginning of May. However, I've been planting vegetable gardens now for probably 15 to 20 years or so, and I've had quite a lot of good experiences as well as some learning experiences with it. And with that, I usually use the rule of thumb for our region here that I don't want to plant anything outdoors until at least Mother's Day, which is around the middle of May. So I usually plan on planting most of my produce plants around the end of May and even into the beginning of June. So I usually start planting seeds indoors. I have done it as early as February, but I think March is a sweet spot of when I can be able to start planting seeds indoors, and then I will pick different types of seeds over the next few weeks, depending on the length of their germination and how long it takes to be able to plant them. And I will start doing that mid-March, and then I know by the time the growing season starts for us, which is more so the middle of May, then I'll be able to get those plants. They'll be nice, big, and healthy, and I'll be able to get them out in the garden. Today, I'm going to walk you through everything: the timing, the containers, the soil, the water, how to get it set up indoors, and then when to get them outdoors. So let's go get started. So the biggest question we get is, when do we start the seeds indoors? And that's a little bit of a tricky question because it really depends on what you want to grow. Different vegetables and plants have a different length of time that they're growing. So if you're growing something like peppers or tomatoes, they usually need more time, usually about 8 to 10 weeks or so of growing before they're ready to be planted outside. If you're looking at something like the brassicas, like the kale, cabbage, those types of things, they don't need quite as long, probably around 6 weeks or so, depending on the variety. And then if you're growing something like onions or shallots, well, those can be a little bit of a wild card. So it's usually a good idea to get them started on the earlier side. So it's best to decide what you want to plant, and then from there you can figure out when you should start each seed indoors. And you don't want to start too early because then you could either get the plants root bound, or they can get leggy, or just really stressed out, and then they won't be as productive and they won't do as well once you get them into the garden. And then you don't want to start them too late because, well, that just defeats the whole purpose of being able to get the head start planting indoors. So you really want to make sure you get the timing right. I recommend going, like I mentioned, onto Google or any other platform, and then go to the Farmer's Almanac. You can type in your zip code. It'll tell you when your frost date is. And then from there, you can figure out when you should plant the seeds indoors based on what you're choosing to plant that year. Now let's talk about what you're actually putting your seeds into, starting with the containers and then talking about the soil. So for containers, you could really get creative and use about anything. I've in the past used reused, I should say, containers that I've bought plants in previously. I just save these and then I can reuse them year after year. And that way it's basically free. I've also used solo cups. And that is a really great economical idea as well. If you just want to stop by the grocery store, even the dollar store, you can pick up some solo cups. Just make sure you drill some holes at the bottom because you need the water to drain. But solo cups are a great cheap idea. Most recently though, I started buying these biodegradable planters or pots. And I love these because I can start the seeds in them and then I can plant these directly in the garden, and it's just so much faster and easier. The biodegradable pot breaks down over time and I don't have to worry about it. So this I've really started using and become a real fan of. You do have to buy these year after year, so it's not the best idea if you're just starting out and you're just trying to figure out the best, fastest, easiest way to do it. So get some solo cups or collect some planters and reuse those. For the soil now, you have to buy the soil, unfortunately. You can't just go out into the garden, dig up some dirt from there, and call it good. That just doesn't work. And that's because generally the soil from the garden, usually it cakes up more and it doesn't allow the little seedlings and those very beginning roots to really grow and expand very easily. It could really suffocate the seedlings. So you don't want to use it for that reason. You also don't want to use it because it could harbor, eggs of, insects or anything like that. And then you don't want to be bringing in any of those bugs into your house. So using soil, though it's free and readily available right outside your door, it's not the best choice. What you want to use is some actual potting mix that is specifically made for starting seeds indoors. And the potting mix that you buy is usually a good mix of, vermiculite, and ours has coconut coir in it, which is an organic option. And it keeps the soil nice and light and fluffy and loose, and it's a great medium for these little seedlings to get started. So get the potting soil from the store and you can use that. It's a little bit of an investment, but it is worth it because if you're taking the time to plant the seeds indoors and take care of them, you really want them to be successful. All right, so we got the timing down, we got the containers down, we got the soil down. Now let's talk about what most people completely overlook, and this is one of the most important parts of it because it'll determine whether your seedlings actually sprout or not. And that is the heat and germination. So seedlings don't care about light until they've already germinated and sprouted. What they care about is the temperature. Now, soil temperature generally needs to be between 70 and 85 degrees. And now we're talking soil temperature, not the air temperature. In most homes between February and March, when most people are starting seeds indoors, that's when the floor temperature and the countertops are very cool, and it's not ideal for these plants, and it won't help give them that jump start they need to be able to actually germinate and sprout. What you want to make sure you have, and this is going to be a little bit of an investment, but not too much, and that is a heat mat. Now, heat mats are great. You can spend, I don't know, maybe about $20 or so on a heat mat, and it will last you for years and years. So it's certainly an investment that's worth making. And you can plug these right into an electric outlet, and it'll heat up just enough to warm up that soil and get those seeds going. So we have our growing station here that we set up that I've been using for a while now, and it works out great. And we have all of our heat mats already in place. And as soon as we get some seeds planted in their little pots, we put the trays right on the heat mats and it works great. Once you see those seedlings starting and the plant's starting to pop up out of the soil, you can usually get away with moving them off of the heat mats, but you want to make sure you keep them somewhere warm. And that's where light comes in. And that is the next area that is so important. Now, I'll be honest with you. Most people end up getting so disappointed by this factor. They want to naturally put the plants in front of the windowsill. But that is really honestly not enough. You need adequate sunlight. And so that's where these grow lights really come in handy. Now, if you put them on a windowsill, like a lot of people naturally want to do, the sunlight is just not enough to be able to really warm up those plants and keep them thriving. So what happens is the plants end up, reaching and stretching for the sunlight, and that causes them to get like really long and skinny, and that's what we call leggy. And that just makes them weak. So we really don't want that to happen because it's not going to set them up for success once you get them into the garden. Now, what you want to do is, if you can, get some grow lights. And these lights have a specific spectrum of the red and the blue lighting to really mimic the sunlight and create the warmth that these plants need. And then I have the lights on a timer because you want to be able to make sure that they get the 14 to 16 hours of light that they need so that way they continue to grow. So having the lights on a timer works beautifully, and then it's more of a set it and forget it besides that watering. It's good to place them about 2 to 4 inches above the plants, so closer down when they're starting out, and then you can adjust it. And that's why I really like these grow lights though, because I have them on chains and then I can just adjust them as needed. But again, if you're not ready to invest in the grow lights, start with some other lights that you have and just make sure they're nice and close to the plant and just keep an eye on them and monitor them. But if possible, this is your best bet. Overwatering seedlings kills more seedlings than anything else. And it often doesn't look like overwatering. It usually looks like the plants are just starting to grow and then get weak and topple over and just start to wither away and die. And that's called damping off, which is a fungal disease that's caused by the top of the surface of the soil having too much moisture and basically drowning the plant. So the method that I use, and I swear by it, is once I first plant the seeds in the pots here, I will make sure the soil is moist, and the first day I will make sure I use a spray bottle. I'll just gently spray the top just to make sure the seed itself gets enough moisture so that way it can start that germination process. But this is the trick. I usually save like these milk jugs and iced tea containers, and they work out great. And I water from the bottom, and it causes the soil to soak up all of that water, and it also causes the roots that are growing from the plant to start stretching down towards that water. And this is a great way to be able to water the plants very quickly and easily. You can just pour the water into the tray and it'll water all of your plants all at one time, and it's fantastic. And then it helps maintain that nice balance in the moisture level at the top of the soil. So you might see that the top is looking a little bit drier, but rest assured that all of your plants are likely getting adequate water and they're going to do just fine. So when you're putting the water in the bottom of the tray like that, you just want to put your finger down into the soil a little bit and just make sure that it feels moist. You don't want it to be dry. You don't want it to be really soggy. You just want it to be nice and moist in the top. So usually it's the surface won't tell you that. You'll have to stick your finger in a couple of the pots just to test that out. Another good indicator is when you lift up the tray. If it feels heavier, there's probably enough moisture in there still. If it feels light, then you may need to add some more water. So that's another good check and balance, an easy way to decide if you need to add more water or if they can go for a little bit longer. Now here's one thing that most people skip because it feels wrong, but it's necessary. And that's thinning a plant. So let me explain. When you're first planting the seeds, you usually want to put 2 or 3 seeds in the planter to begin with. And that's not because you're expecting all of them to fail or 2 out of the 3 seeds to fail, though it could happen because germination isn't 100% guaranteed. But what you're doing is you're actually ensuring that you get at least one strong, good plant. Now, the thinning process is when those seeds actually germinate and create plants. You may get 2 or 3 plants from those seeds that you planted, and then you have to decide which of those plants are looking the healthiest, the biggest, and the strongest. And then you actually want to snip off the others. And I know it feels wrong and it feels like you're killing a plant because, well, I guess you kind of are killing a plant, but it's okay. It's necessary. So that way that one strong plant that is growing in there won't have to compete with any of the others. It'll have all of the soil and nutrients and everything in that pot, so that way it can have the best chance to grow big and strong. And that's what you want, and that's what you're going after. So though snipping the plant feels wrong, you really have to do it. And make sure you snip it. You don't want to be pulling those plants out. I know people will want to pick them like weeds. You don't want to do that because depending on how close they are and how the root system is that's growing underneath, you could actually disturb the good plant that you want to keep. And so don't just pull that weaker plant out. Just get some scissors, snip it at the base by the soil, and then call it good. So that is the safest and easiest way to do it, and what we recommend. And so that's the whole process from start to finish. So that way you can start your seeds indoors, get a jump start on those plants, and get ready for the growing season. And I know that it seems like a lot of steps, but it's really not. It's really easy. I do urge you to do it because there really is nothing like the satisfaction and enjoyment of being able to go into your garden, pick a nice, big, ripe, juicy tomato, and enjoy that, knowing that that is literally the fruit of your labor. You started that plant from seed all by yourself, and now you have a beautiful, gorgeous plant producing amazing, delicious fruit that you and your family can enjoy. It's such a great, great feeling, and you will really be glad that you took the time to follow these steps, get your seeds going indoors, and getting a jump start on that growing season. Now, if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. We would love to entertain any of your questions and help you get started so you're successful too. We can answer any questions you have about any piece of the process and about the materials that we use. So let us know. We'll jump in and help you out. But that's about it. It's so easy, and I hope this growing season is very successful for you. Thanks again for watching. It really means a lot to us, and we will see you on the next one.